Hi, welcome to Turbulent Flow. I'm the Cirque du Old Lady. I'm coming to you from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It's Friday, May the 22nd. I literally just got back from my Friday aerial silks class and literally thought that I had created a video for you today because I was very excited to do an unboxing video, but it turns out that I forgot to hit record. So let's try this again. Like I said, this is Turbulent Flow, a real life vlog presented to you by basically a person, myself, who is a professional engineer, recreational acrobat, and two-time breast cancer alumnus. And today we are doing a circus unboxing video. Well, a circus unboxing recreation video, unfortunately, because I've already opened the box. Like I said, I thought I made an entire unboxing video. I was so enthusiastic, but we will try again because I think this is really cool. A lot of people don't get to see much circus equipment, and this box was literally waiting on the porch for me when I came back from aerial silks class. So I pulled it in, I got out my scissors, I opened the box, and then I showed everything in it, but let's go through it again because I actually think this is pretty exciting. So I ordered 3 things from Coast Ropes in British Columbia. This is a company that primarily supplies ropes and arborist and mountaineering type equipment for professionals. It's a very reputable company, very lovely to work with. It took a little while to get my delivery, but that was because of the 3 things that I ordered. One of them they did not have. They were waiting for it to come. It didn't come. So I already knew that this was not going to be a complete order. I ordered 3 things. I ordered an arborist harness, I ordered static rope, and I ordered carabiners. I knew the carabiners weren't going to be in here. But what is in here? Let's take a look. All right. So here's the box that everything came in. There was some plastic wrapping on the rope, but let's start with the rope, because this is a pretty critical thing for my particular aerial practice. I have an outdoor rig, and because I have an outdoor rig that I like to use a pulley system with, I need rope for my pulley system. So this is my brand new rope. Despite the fact that I already have lots and lots of rope, I haven't actually, I put the rig, which is the actual aerial suspension device. I put the rig up last weekend, but I have not yet put up the pulley system because this rope is the rope that was used last season. This rope was up being used, keeping me safe for an entire season, starting in the spring and going to sort of, late fall when it starts to get cold, which means it was outside. It was outside for an entire season. So even though it looks like it is in a fantastic condition, this rope still looks brand new. It doesn't have any wear points, but it looks totally fine, and it probably is totally fine. I know that it's been outside for an entire season. Therefore, this rope is retired. It's going off to do non-safety related rope tasks. Maybe I'll tie it into some fancy knots, or if I need to tie any sort of non-human load to something, I've got lots and lots of rope. But for this season, if I want to put up my pulley system on the rig, I need new rope. So that's the first thing that came in this box. So this is what we call static rope. This is different from the kind of rope that gets used when people are rock climbing. This static rope means that it does not have a lot of stretch in it. So this is sterling HTP high tenacity polyester static rope. It says it has high strength, extremely low elongation, it's moisture resistant, it's firm, smooth sheath, keeps the core free of debris, because it's actually the center of the rope that you actually get the safety from. The outside is meant to work like a bushing and actually just, take the wear. So this particular rope is 9mm HTP static black 46 meters of rope. So I knew that it was going to be a little different from the rope that I already had, and you can actually see this. This particular rope came with some fancy Velcro. So I've got fancy Velcro to actually help secure the rope. I bought some other sterling rope for rock climbing recently, and it also came with the fancy Velcro tying stuff. But looking at this rope, when you look at rope, you can actually get details about the rope on the little bit. Is it an aglet? On the aglet that's attached to it. I think it's called an aglet. I think so. Anyways, and of course all of the information is here on this. But this is 9mm rope. 9mm rope, and this rope that I've been using for the last 2 seasons. I had 2 lengths, which is why it's lasted two seasons. I cut it in half. I used one outside for 1 year, one outside for the other year. This is 9mm rope. This is 11mm rope, but they are both going to meet the same strength requirements. So from a capacity standpoint, the information is here on the card. This particular rope in 9mm has a minimum breaking strength of 4,496 pounds. It can handle 20 kilonewtons as the minimum break strength rating. It has a safe working load, which is one of the most critical things when we're working with rope for safety. A safe working load of 449 pounds. That's giving me a 10-to-1 safety factor. So 449 pounds is way more than myself and any piece of equipment that I'm going to be hanging, onto this rope. So I'm definitely, my aerial equipment, even this, this particular aerial cube, which does have a little bit of weight to it, it plus me is not going to be more than 449 pounds. So we're going to be well within the safe working load limit. And like I said, as an engineer, I can appreciate the fact that this is giving me a 10-to-1 safety factor. I know that is standard safety factor when basically protecting humans. For non-human loads, we actually normally use a 5-to-1 safety factor. That is a lot more common for lifting things, whereas we double that when we are talking about lifting or suspending people. Because if things crash to the ground, that is actually considered to be less catastrophic than if people crash to the ground. And as the people that we are probably talking about, I can appreciate that. So yeah, so this has all sorts of other things. It meets ANSI ratings and various things, but I am very excited to have my rope, because it means that I'm going to be able to hang the pulley system up this weekend, which will allow me to use my aerial cube outside. It won't have to sit on the ground all the time, so I'll be able to raise it up, because you can use the pulley system to actually lift this thing. Right now, the only thing that I can suspend from my rig in a practical fashion is my aerial hoop, because it is light enough essentially that I can climb a ladder and hang it from the static point on the rig, whereas trying to carry this up a ladder is not going to happen. Okay, so that is the first thing in my unboxing video, my circus unboxing video. The other thing that is in here is something that is very new to me. So I've been pretty interested in doing aerial dance or vertical dance. Sometimes it has many different names: vertical dance, vertical acrobatics, wall dance, but I'm actually not planning on doing wall dance per se. I actually want to do acrobatic suspended dance without a wall, so basically without any sort of hard surfaces nearby, e.g. hanging from this rope on my aerial rig. And I bought myself a harness for this. Now, so this is a Petzl Aveo Sit harness. It is actually designed for professional arborists, and that actually makes it quite different from my rock climbing harness. I also like to do rock climbing for funsies, and so I do have a rock climbing harness. I have my Petzl rock climbing harness right here. My Petzl, what's this one called? I've never looked it up before. It's called a Hirundus. No way I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this one's fairly new. I actually just bought it this year. I retired my older rock climbing harness because my body weight changed and I needed a smaller harness. But this particular harness I could use for acrobatic suspended dance, and when I took a class in acrobatic wall dance a year or two ago in Newfoundland, that's what we used. We used rock climbing harnesses. So most places that I've seen that offer lessons do provide rock climbing harnesses, and there's absolutely nothing from a safety standpoint wrong with that. The thing though that I noticed when we were doing it, and I simply also just knew from using a rock climbing harness for rock climbing, is that rock climbing safety harnesses are built to be lightweight while still maintaining safety. What they are not built for is comfort. Anyone who's been rock climbing at a gym and spent some time hanging out in one of these things, either trying to solve a problem or having difficulty on a climb, you come off the wall and you're hanging out in one of these things, actually sort of looking to to spend some time in it. It's not comfortable. The leg loop digs into the back of your leg, and the waistband is right there, like in the soft squishy part of your body, and it gets pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly. So that's not super awesome. I didn't love it, and I thought that if I wanted to train, in suspension to do some vertical dance, that what I'd really want is something that's a little more comfortable. Hence an arborist harness. Arborists are people that hang out, literally, they are sitting in their harnesses for long periods of time while they do their thing up in the trees. So I figured by nature these have got to be more comfortable harnesses than ones that are built for rock climbing and are purely built for safety. The other thing, as literally the safety engineer that I am, I couldn't help when I was doing some vertical dance, but then notice that when we tied in for our safety, when you're using, and some people do this a little incorrectly, so I'm not trying to call anybody out. I just I know how rock climbing harnesses are meant to work, and I also know how I've seen them sometimes work. So let's have a conversation about that. But rock climbing harnesses basically have two key points for safety. What they have, and here, look, I've got some safety rope. So when you're climbing with a rock climbing harness, you take your rope and you put it through this lower loop that's attached to the leg loops, and then you put it through the loop that's actually attached to your waistband. So your leg loops provide one layer of safety, your waistband provides another layer of safety, so yay redundancy. This is something we like I said, I work in safety. Redundancy is something I can deeply appreciate. You put it through both loops, and then you tie off, and this becomes your safety line. You've got 2 loops on your harness that are keeping you attached to your safety line. So if, heaven forfend, anything ever happened to one of the loops, you have a backup loop. You know, you are not going to go crashing to your doom. So those are your safety loops, and that's what you loop into when you're using a rock climbing harness for safety. This third loop that connects these 2 safety loops, this third loop is what's called the belay loop. The belay loop is the loop that the person who acts as the belayer to a rock climber, that's the person standing at the base managing the rope for the rock climber. So the person who's actually managing the safety rope, either letting it out or taking it in, but basically controlling the safety rope. This loop is what they attach a carabiner and then what's called either a gree or an ATC, basically some sort of belay device. They attach that to the belay loop, and that's what they use to manage the rope. Now, I have seen with some aerial, so if you're doing aerial dance in a rock climbing harness, there are 2 things that you could do. You could either clip in to the belay loop, which I never feel comfortable about, because to me a belay loop is for belaying. It's not for hanging from. Or you can clip in to these loops. Either way, you clip into the belay loop and you start doing your aerial dance. You're hanging from this, you're moving around, or you're hanging from these and you're moving around. You are basically sort of creating a fair amount of wear on these things, because these are fairly narrow openings, and they are made of a textile. So they do have a sheath. They are covered. They are designed to take some wear without actually affecting their loading capacity, but they are fabric. And if you're hanging from a rock climbing harness for long periods of time and doing aerial dance, that's not what these are made for. It's not what these are designed for. These are designed for rock climbing, for coming off. And yes, they're designed to accommodate some twerking and sort of dancing and moving around, but that's not what the people who designed this harness for were really planning for its use. So unsurprisingly, I just get a little concerned about the idea, especially for personal use where I want it to last a long time. The idea of using a rock climbing harness for a purpose that it wasn't really designed for. So for both of those reasons, both for comfort of myself and for wear on my safety device, I decided to invest in an arborist harness, despite the fact that I already own a rock climbing harness. I'm going to keep my rock climbing harness for rock climbing. I'm going to use it for that exact purpose, and it's going to last me as long as it's supposed to, which is no more than 5 years. But I'm going to use my rock climbing harness for rock climbing. I'm not going to wear it out prematurely. I like this guy. I'm going to keep him right here, because what we're going to do next is unbox the new harness. The new Petzl, well, new to me. It's brand new. I just don't know how long the actual design's been out. So let me see. This is the Petzl Aveo Sit Comfortable. Right there in the description it says comfortable. Yay! I like this idea. Comfortable seat harness for positioning and suspension. I mean, because that's what an arborist is doing as part of their job. So this is a harness that is designed to hold up a human being. It comes with a 3-year guarantee. And this one is a size 1. It does not actually give a weight capacity that I found yet. And it came in a very nice, durable bag. So let's open her up and see what's inside. All right, so my bag turns inside out. Nice bag design. Let's pull out the harness and see what we have. Well, Okay, let's look at this puppy. So as you can see, it's built very much like a rock climbing harness. So let's start with the different components. You know, it also came with a lovely book. So the Aveo Sit and the Aveo Sit Fast come with the same booklet. Let me see. So I've got the size 1. So this gives me the dimensions. I'll look at this in greater detail. I'll definitely be reading this to make sure that I'm using my thing. Because it is sold as a work positioning and restraint belt and seat harness for work at height. So this particular one is meant for you to hang out in. You know, you're supposed to hang out in this harness. It's primary job. So let's look at the difference between my arborist harness and my rock climbing harness. This is where I will certainly apologize for the fact that I'm literally showing a whole bunch of black safety equipment. You know, so and I know these are not the best lighting conditions. This is not a fancy YouTube video, but you know, we're gonna do what we can do. So let's start with the bottom. Let's start with the leg loops. So here's the leg loop on the Petzl rock climbing harness. So and every rock climbing harness I've ever used has a very similar sort of leg loop. It's just a smooth, fairly thin thing. There's no padding really on this. It's smooth, but it doesn't have any padding. This particular leg loop also does not have any actual adjustment. I like that because it's just one. Not having a buckle on my leg loop for my rock climbing harness is one less thing to screw up. You know, makes things a little easier. So this is what I've got. So it's just a smooth leg loop. When I'm hanging from this leg loop, it digs into the back of my leg. No doubt about that. So let's compare this to the leg loop on the arborist harness. The arborist harness, well, you can see right away. First of all, the arborist harness is beefier. You know, it is a bigger, thicker leg loop. So that right away is going to distribute the load across the back of my leg a lot better than the rock climbing harness. So it's just wider. So you see that on the outside. Let's look at it from the inside, and this is where it gets really interesting. So the leg loop on the arborist harness, first of all, has some cushioning. So it's got some squish. That's good. That's gonna be nice. But also it's got kind of these bumps. It's got these sort of, you know, sections, these where you know, it's actually going to be kind of, as I move around in the leg harness and kind of hang from it, these, you know, might act like a bit like, you know, sort of, you know, foam rollers. You know, give my leg a little bit of a massage. At the very least, you know, at the very most or least, I don't know. Certainly in one respect, as a biomechanic, I can certainly see how the bumps in the cushioning here, rather than just kind of having one big padded section, these bumps are going to allow some blood flow. They're going to create spots where the leg loop is running across the back of my leg, and I'm hanging from it to actually allow blood to continue to flow down my leg. So, you know, a little bit of a massage, some actual cushioning for comfort, and some sections that are going to work for blood flow. I think this is definitely going to be a better leg harness, or a better leg loop. I can see how that's going to feel a lot better. The other thing that this one has is an adjustment buckle. So this one really can. Let's just shove my leg in here and see how we can adjust this. So that you're not going to be able to see very much, but yeah, I can tighten this right onto my leg. So I've got some adjustability here. You know, I can tighten it. If it's loose or tight, that's not really going to affect things from a safety standpoint. Your legs aren't going to come popping out. But for comfort, and I've got an adjustment buckle, so I can definitely see how the leg loop on this is going to be superior to the rock climbing harness leg loop. I'm also noticing, look at that, that the leg loop attaches to the waistband with this great little bungee thing. So it's got a little bungee section, and this bungee section, I guess, is probably protecting. It feels like it might be protecting an elastic that's inside. I'm not entirely sure how it's designed. So it's got some length adjustment up at the top, and then it's got this great little bungee accordion. Whereas my rock climbing harness does have an adjustment as well, but it's got a much more narrow bit of elastic. So it's just elastic, you know, that it doesn't last very long. Like this kind of elastic sort of bags out over time and just with use. But I could see this elastic lasting a little bit more and being a little more durable. So that's a great thing. So let's move up to the waistband. So here's the arborist harness, the back of the waistband. So this is the section that's gonna sit right across my lumbar regions. So this is my lumbar belt. It looks very much sort of like a weightlifting belt. So here's my lumbar belt, and the lumbar belt on the rock climbing harness is way more small. So I mean, here are the two, you know, sort of side by side. You can certainly see how, you know, this is going to dig into sort of my squishy center section a lot more than this is going to. This is going to spread the load out again, just like with the leg loops. It's going to spread the load out. It's just by that particular function is likely to be a lot more comfortable. But this is where you turn it around and you also see a difference again. This one as well, just like that leg loop, has padding. There ain't no padding on the rock climbing harness. No padding on the rock climbing harness, but padding here on the arborist harness. And again, these sort of shaped, you know, sections. You know, so as I'm wearing the harness and kind of moving around with this across my back, I see that kind of giving you like a sort of a nice little lumbar massage. You know, I think that could be that might be pretty nice. I can't wait to try it out. So those are the that's the waistband. The waistband also, of course, has, you know, some very nice loops to attach equipment, which I won't be really sort of doing as a you know, in a dance capacity. That's not quite so important. But I do appreciate the fact that this whole thing is black. So from a performance standpoint, it will provide a lot more flexibility. It should blend in to any costume. Some of the other ones that were for sale had, like, you know, big yellow safety colors on them, which I really didn't want for my particular purpose. So turning this around, the final sort of section on the harness, this is where we get into the sort of the, you know, the first parts are for comfort. Now let's talk about safety. From a safety standpoint, you'll probably remember that I mentioned that, you know, when you're using a rock climbing harness, if you're kind of moving around, that's gonna create a lot of sort of wear on these sections. So let's see what they have on the actual arborist harness and how it's different. And this was the primary reason why I decided to invest in one of these instead of just, you know, buying rock climbing harnesses and just, you know, using many of them over the years. So this one has 3 sections. So the first is, you know, an attachment point for the leg loops. So just like on a rock climbing harness, there's a safety attachment point that's connected to the leg loops. This arborist harness has a safety attachment point connected to the leg loop section of the harness. But the big difference here is that, you know, on the rock climbing harness, it's a textile, and on the arborist harness, it's metal. Metal does not wear out the way textiles do. So I've got a metal attachment point here. So that's definitely beefier that is definitely going to be a lot more durable. The other key one though, and this was the part that kind of got me really excited, was, you know, in a deeply geeky way, is that the waist attachment points actually have two metal spots, and these two metal spots allow you to create, and I need to look up the correct word for it, but basically you build a bridge that connects the two of them, and that bridge gets made out of rope. So I need to look up how to do this properly, but you build basically a bridge that goes from attachment to attachment. And so then when you're actually clipping in for safety, you clip into the bottom metal one, and then your second point is actually on the rope bridge. So as you move around in your arborist harness, it's running across the rope bridge and not actually running across, you know, and doing any sort of real, you know, extra wear to your safety points. So it's running across the rope bridge, and the rope bridge, of course, is designed to be replaced on an, you know, easily replaced on a regular basis. So the rope bridge is something that will get used up long before the actual harness gets used. And as you can see, I am a person with lots and lots, oh, there's more over here, and lots of rope. So I've got lots of rope. So yeah, I'm looking forward to learning how to make one of these bridges, and that will allow me, as I'm like clipped in, the primary movement when I move side to side while wearing the arborist harness is going to be taken by the rope bridge and not by my safety points to wear them out prematurely. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's a weird thing to be very excited about, but welcome to the life of an engineer slash circus person. So yeah, I'm very excited to learn how to build the rope bridge correctly, to read the instruction manual. I'm gonna do all of that before I actually, you know, use this to hang from, so that I'm operating my safety device properly. So I hope you've enjoyed this this very strange unboxing video. If you enjoy learning about, you know, safety and circus and engineering and breast cancer recovery, because I mean, who doesn't find things like that fascinating? I don't know, this is my life, so I find it at least somewhat interesting. And I just find it fun to share these kinds of things with the greater world. But for right now, I'm gonna go read up on how to use this properly. I'm gonna make sure that you know, I can hang up my my pulley system using my new static rope. You know, thank you, Retired Rope. You've been like super helpful. I really appreciate it, but you cannot be used for safety, so you need to live somewhere else, and new 9mm static rope is going to take over your job for this particular season. And of course, I'll provide some updates on what ends up happening outside with the aerial cube now that I have some rope, because I'm going to be doing a performance on Halloween in Germany. So if anyone's in Germany for Halloween up in Brennan, you just come on by. I'm going to be building or at least the plan right now is to create an aerial cube piece for that particular show. I'm really excited about it. And as I start developing that, I'm going to try and take you along, or at least, you know, give you some updates. I'll be posting, you know, progress information, as I always do, on Cirque du Old Lady on Instagram. So if you want to come check out some of my actual acrobatics, as opposed to this blog where I just normally kind of yap about how life is going, feel free to come by. But nice to see you. I hope you have a really good weekend. Have a great day. Bye.